I wanted to do inventory management, well then I have all these, let's say, for loop type lookups on an array to find a particular item. Do I copy or store a reference to something? Let's just say that it's, created too many problems. Hey there everyone, in the last video, if you were watching the text adventure game in its very beginnings, you would have noticed that the map was essentially an array of map nodes, and a map node itself was a record, and that worked fine, that particular scenario. But when I started to bring in or brought in elements like inventory management or a player or and that sort of stuff, well, it became somewhat limiting, because how big does the array need to be? Is it too big or too small? And then the other part of it then also is, if I wanted to do inventory management, well then I have all these, let's say, for loop type lookups on an array to find a particular item. Do I copy or store a reference to something? What does anyone do in that scenario? Well, they rewrite what they've done, and now it's mostly, if not totally, a class-based system. So over in here now, you can see that my map nodes are a class. When we're looking at my inventory items, etc., they're also classes. At the moment, when you look at this code here, we could argue that they are very dumb objects or very dumb classes, in that everything is public. They just look like a record with a class keyword. That is okay. As game evolves and grows, and behavior gets added into them, they can change as needed. But at the moment, they are merely, DTOs or data transfer objects, and we're just storing information and nothing else. And to store all this information then, rather than using an array, we are now going to be using generics. So I can jump up to here and to show you that at the moment we're using only using a TFPGList, and that comes from the FGL unit. If we wanted to have a look in the FGL unit, you can see that there are different types that we could have used, like a map object, an object list, etc. At the moment, like I said, it's the list, it works, and if I do need to change anything, I will just have to change what the type of the list is, because my item definition list or my item instance list here, it won't really change. As far as the storage of my inventory items is concerned, and that's what we're going to be looking at in the main today, is how do we, A, store our information, and B, how does an item get from, let's say, a room to me, the player, and back to another room perhaps. So first of all, I might flick over to give you a visual idea of how this is all working. This is my item definition, or my registry. These are the item instances, and this is just an instance of one of these things. So if I have, in my game here, I also have what do we have here? A silver fork or a steel dagger. I would have a steel dagger and a silver fork here, as well as in the registry. And then just as types, they are ideas or concepts that can be used. It's only when we come to spawn or create one of these things that we get an instance, and an instance has a location. We might want to put a fire poker into a room with a fireplace. So when we want to, let's say I've got two rooms here, and each room has a fireplace. I want to put a fire poker into there, so we create an item instance of a fire poker, and then we also put that fire poker into the room, and that's maintained here. This record structure here, or this structure here, is only interested in an item in itself. The item doesn't really know where it's at. That information is stored in a totally separate structure. Having said that, it also makes these two structures here perhaps the most important structures in the game. If the player were to, let's say, take the fire poker, and obviously now we're going to be modifying our parser to do this, then the fire poker moves from the room to the player. If me as a player were to drop the fire poker again, well, then it goes from whichever room I'm currently in. I'm in room 1, then has to move from the player back into the room somehow. And this is what basically a flyweight pattern is, rather than trying to have all of this information here embedded into here, where this object becomes sort of like that large there. So we are storing, so like I said, we have a reference from here to here which contains the information that would be of importance, and it also means that we don't have to worry about copying information should this definition here change. My definitions here is my registry that you can see. The instances is this structure here, of those. And then my ledger here is basically this structure here, which tells me where the location of where an item is stored, and also that reference back to the instance of the item. So if I wanted to say put the instance of, or have an instance of a fire poker, in some location here, room 1 for instance, then what I'm going to basically do is to create an instance of the item, and as I said here, we will get a reference to the definition. So we're using a class here again, and then we will have an instance ID. So we've created this item here now. Next, what will happen is then create an item location, which we then put into a room, and that's stored in this structure here, as I said. We want to be able to see what items are in the room, so we're going to have to now, we are going to change the look command here to handle that. We're going to say for all the items in the registry, I should say for all the items in my ledger here, if that item is in my current room, then write out the name of the thing or the item that's in the room here. So we can traverse to what the item is by looking at the item instance. So we're going to jump from here into here to the definition, and to then get the name of the item. Now, if we wanted to, perhaps the next part is then if I want to say, if an item is in the room and I want to say pick it up, then I can say take the item. So now we have to be able to modify our parser to be able to do that. So if we look at our take action or verb here, we can also get it, we can grab it, we can look at the thing, quote unquote, that we want to pick up. One other thing that I'll point out about the filter here, it's a little bit more advanced, I'll say, than what we had previously. In that, what I've got here is some code to be able to filter out, let's say, noise words. I could type in something like take the fire poker or pick up the fire poker, assuming I can see one in the room. So what's going to happen is it's going to remove words that I'm going to consider to be noise in the conversation, so I get down to the things that matter. So words like the, at, and so on are words that I'm not really interested, or that I don't really want to have part of my string. And what we're going to use is an index text function, and that's in strutils. And basically what that will do is to just scan an array for that particular word. If it finds it, that gets returned. If it can't find that word, then -1 gets returned. Here now, what we are looking at is that if our string that came in was pick up the fire poker, then our resulting string here will be pick up fire poker. Come down to here, then the word up gets removed. The rest of the words, become the noun, and that's what is going to become. That's what is then parsed. We haven't looked at being, doing something like, we're not quite at the level of, let's say, putting something on a table, in a drawer, but we're getting much closer. And of course now when we do something like a take action, so let's just finish off that one. We're going to add the item to an inventory, and now we are basically going to, for the item, okay, so if we found an item in the current location and that item is the same as my definition, then I'm going to move it into the inventory. Let's see that in action. So at the moment we are in the foyer. We can see a steel dagger. So now if I say something like take the steel dagger, it says I now take the steel dagger. And now if we were to do a look again, well, there's nothing in the room now. Why? Because it's in, I think I've got inventory here, inventory. You can now see that I have the item in my inventory. If I now do a drop, look at my inventory, I got nothing. But now if I look in the room again, the dagger reappears there. So by just manipulating the information in this structure here, I don't have to touch anything from there onwards. And like I said, if we were to save that information, when we reload the game, we know where everything is. So we are almost at a stage where I'm happy with how this is progressing as a text adventure gaming engine. There's a lot of stuff to be added to it still. What I will be doing is making this code here available to members of the channel. So if you would like to get the code, then consider becoming a member. Thank you to Dirk and Ricardo and Matthias, members of the Silver Pascal Coder. Thank you for your support. There's certain perks for different levels, and I'll have a link to about becoming a member in the description. So if you want to see how to use what a data transfer object looks like, or you want to learn more about flyweight patterns, you can look at the code here and learn from that part. And I will, that will be done in a compressed format. So then the next time I put the next version out, you'd be able to compare each and see what the differences are, perhaps. So become a member and get the source code. So that's about it for this video. Like I said, the structures that will be used in this particular game, or this engine I should say, may change. It may be using a map or a hash map, will be a better structure. And again, we could use add in behavioral type stuff into my item definitions. We could be adding in durability and wear and tear, which also means having to repair items, which also then mean an increased vocabulary. The ability to have, let's say locked doors, or being able to put something into a drawer, so this game has just started. Until next time, happy coding. I'll see you on the other side. Bye.